David Perry es todo un gurú de la seguridad informática. Lleva 25 años ligado a este mundo y actualmente es director de formación a nivel mundial de Tren Micro. Hablamos con él sobre la evolución de los ataques informáticos, sobre qué amenazas han pasado y cuáles están por venir.
Every floppy disk, not just a bootable floppy disk, but all floppy disks had a boot sector. And so all of these viruses, Stoned, Michelangelo, Monkey, One Half, everything until about 1995 was the boot sector virus. And a couple of things happened. First, we became able to generically detect all boot sector viruses. That was called Gen B, the detection. And second, Microsoft invented Windows 95, which eliminated the ability to infect a boot sector of a diskette. And finally, people stopped using diskettes. The very first one was called the word concept macrovirus, and there were thousands and thousands of these. What happened was Microsoft eventually changed the methodologies by which macros are loaded, and that made the macrovirus obsolete. We don't see them anymore. Then the email virus, starting with Melissa in February 26, 1999, was ascendant. And what's funny is the email virus is really the first virus that we ever had that people could see it. You know, we could say such and such an email is a virus, and you could go see the email. Before that, all the viruses were invisible. There was nothing to see, okay? And email viruses were probably the dominant force in viruses for quite a while, and in fact, we still see a couple of them, but we don't see them much anymore because it's much more effective nowadays to use web threat infections, where you look at a web page and you are automatically infected. Now, the big change, the biggest change, is in the last couple of years, all of the early stuff is all being done by college students and hackers. And what they're trying to do is they want to prove how cool they are. They want to prove that some technology is possible. So they made a big splash. They made their stuff go all over the world and infected millions of computers. What happened was somebody some criminal figured out that this could be used to make some money. So now it's all criminal viruses, okay? So they are very stealthy. They're invisible. You can never see them. They never leave a file that you can find. They never do anything like slow down your computer. What they are there for is to steal your bank account information and your credit card number and your password and steal the money from your account. So this has pushed us into a new era where the old technology of developing a detection string, you know, where we look for a specific program, that's really not the main thrust of our research anymore. Instead, every computer and everything that comes into your computer these days is connected to an IP address, an Internet Protocol address. And what we do is we test those IP addresses and see which ones are safe and which ones are not safe. And we don't do that on your computer. We do that up in the Internet cloud and communicate back to your computer. And that's just one of the new technologies that we're using to detect this. But this business changes so rapidly that it's almost impossible to keep up with it fast enough to tell you about it. Right now we're looking at things called fast flux network problems. Right now we're looking at iframe faults. Right now we're looking at new threats to mobile phones and new threats to all kinds of computers, wherever they're found.
¿Se verá nuestra vida diaria afectada por este tipo de amenazas?
I think that it's going to be the big fight of the next decade. And I think at the end of the next decade, we're going to be doing everything just a little bit differently because this need for computer security, for content security, will affect how you bank, how you compute, how you send email, how you drive your car, okay, how you lock the doors to your house, how you get and run a job, and so on and so on and so on. This is going to affect every area of your life. Ramifications of this go way beyond what we're seeing today. And it's going to need a lot more people. They're going to need a lot more of me and a lot more of all the people that I know, the engineers and everybody, to make sure that this happens. And I'm happy to say that I think that eventually we will end up in a safer world than the one that we are in today.
¿En qué medida están concienciadas las empresas de la necesidad de protegerse?
Absolutely. Trend is actually one of the leading enterprise level security companies. We actually the biggest piece of our business is protecting very large companies. And what we're looking at with them is we are moving from strictly a basis of selling them a piece of software into selling them a security service. And we're seeing that a large corporation wants to protect themselves without bogging down any particular point in their network. So we have some protection on the desktop, and some on the email server, and some on the gateway, and some on the file server, and some of it, like I said, this IP reputation service, we have a network of thousands of computers that belong to us that are located all over the world, and when one of our corporate customers wants to see an IP address, it talks to that network, the network tests the IP address, runs 52 different tests on it, and communicates back down to them whether the IP address is safe or not. That's fantastic because we do that 5 billion times a day, okay? That's an amazing number, and we do it in less than half a second. A corporation has a responsibility to protect the data that comes from its customers. They have a responsibility to protect the data that comes from its vendors. They have a responsibility to protect the data that comes from its channel partners and its associates and its partnerships with other corporations. And they have a responsibility to the privacy of its stockholders and to the privacy of its employees. And to tell you the truth, I don't think there's a company anywhere who addresses the full spectrum of what the responsibility of this is, because this is new.